Hello, this is John Miller, founding attorney of Rock Solid Law, celebrating our 30th year in 2001. This month, we're going to be examining, in light of estate planning, the sandwich generation. And we will do a series of discussions of what that means and how that can affect families, because one of our main goals here at Rock Solid Law and Title is to keep American families strong. With that goal in mind, in 2 weeks on June, let me make sure I've got the date right, 17th, we will again talk about the sandwich generation. And in that one, it will be what adult children need to do for aging parents and how it will make your life better. What adult children need to do for their aging parents and how it will make their lives better. I'm in my new office in Ponte, Vedra. Obviously, I'm getting a little bit used to the lighting here. I hope the presentation is okay for you guys. As we go forward, just know that anybody that has a question, I do monitor the chat screen and we'll be glad to answer questions at the end. Let's talk about the sandwich generation. You know, due to medical advances, people are living a lot longer now than they used to. In the Middle Ages, for instance, the adult life expectancy was only 32 years. I didn't like having that bar in the back of my head, so I moved over a little bit. I hope that's okay with all of you. Only 32 years people lived. That was a full life expectancy. So at 16, when we're in our country, in our generation, looking forward to getting our driver's license, and sweet 16, they're halfway through their lives at that point in time. Yes, that's hundreds of years ago. And due, again, to better living, better nutrition, better conditions, and particularly better medicine, now in the USA, one can expect to live to be about 80 years old. I would postulate that someone born today has a reasonable life expectancy of reaching 100. I really do. I believe that our children will live to be 100 years old. And therefore, there's a greater propensity to create future sandwich generations. Now, a sandwich generation is a group of middle-aged adults, guilty, who care for both their aging parents and their own children. It's not a specific generation like Gen X, the greatest generation, or baby boomers, but it's a phenomenon that can affect anyone whose parents and children need support at the same time. Sound familiar? The phenomenon was recognized in the late 20th century as changes in lifespan, as we discussed, and a later age for childbearing meant that families often had small children and frail parents at the same time. For example, in the early 20th century, a woman might have her first child at around the age of 20, when her own parents were approximately 40 and not typically in need of any special care. More recently, in developed countries, women often have children closer to the age of 30, and as we're seeing in our social circle, more like 40 or close to 40, when their own parents are around the age of 60 or 70, and therefore at much higher risk of needing support before their grandchildren have become adults, right? So those sandwiched people become responsible for caring for their parents and for their children at the same time. They may help their loved ones with daily functioning, medical services and supervision, giving medications, and aiding in financial, legal, and emotional difficulties of their loved ones as well as themselves. Now, one of our goals around here at Rock Solid Law is to support the family tree. And as you can see, those in the sandwich generation are supporting the roots and the limbs at the same time. And it's a tough job. Just over 1 of every 8 Americans aged 40 to 70 is both raising a child and caring for a parent. In addition, between 7 and 10 million adults caring for their aging parents from long distance. So 1 in 8 are in the sandwich generation, and another 7 to 10 are doing it but at a distance. The U.S. Census Bureau stats indicate that the number of older Americans aged 65 or older will double by the year 2030 to over 70 million. Folks, that's in the next 9 years. It's going to double the people 65 or older in our country. All right. So all of those people are going to need to be supported by someone, and it's typically their children, right? You may ask yourself, what is it that our parents are doing to us, the sandwich generation, that we shouldn't be doing to our kiddos? Well, let me tell you, I've practiced 37 years now, and I feel like I've seen it all, although regularly a new situation pops up. Most of the problems come from failure to properly engage in estate planning. And it covers everything from failing to execute a power of attorney so that there won't be the necessity of a guardianship, to failing to protect their adult children from the battles of probate. So when you have a power of attorney, you're giving someone, often your spouse or adult child, the ability to do your banking, deal with your insurance, your mortgage, all those things of day-to-day life that maybe you can't do as you reach that more frail stage. And when you do a properly executed estate plan, you keep your kids from having to go through the courthouse in a probate proceeding and have some judge decide what's going to happen and who gets what. I have seen over and over and over families fight during the probate process. It is one of our serious goals to keep them from doing that. So in our next series, where we talk about what adult children can do to help their aging parents, they need to help get that plan in place to keep them from ending up being the ones in the battle. I recently had a family come to me that needed to be able to get an aging father into a care facility. He was losing or had lost his mental capacity. Mental capacity is the ability, or legal capacity, the ability to have legal capacity, right? You're above the age of 18 and you're of sound mind. You've heard that phrase before. Legal capacity means that you have the ability to execute legal documents, like we're talking about powers of attorney, healthcare surrogates, wills, and trusts. This man was right on the edge of having legal capacity, and he had never given a power of attorney to any of his children or to his wife. They were no longer able to care for him for various reasons and needed to get him into a facility where he could be properly cared for. Unfortunately, he did not execute the documents before he had lost legal capacity to do so, and they were not able to check him into a facility. What a conundrum. They want to take care of dad. Dad doesn't really understand the whole situation, is fighting against change, and dad was legally incompetent to sign a power of attorney or to do anything that would allow the family to take care of him. So the only possibility would be to go to court to have a guardian appointed. And I tell you, that's an arduous process that is expensive, time consuming, and no fun for anyone. And I would encourage all families to stay away from it. Another matter I had, a very intelligent gentleman did not want to prepare even a simple will, even though he was willing to do his power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, and other documents. And sadly, he got attacked by a very aggressive form of cancer only 6 months after seeing me. He had his mental capacity. He asked me to do a will. We were unable, even by doing it on an expedited basis, to get it to him before he was no longer able to sign it, and therefore he failed to leave a last will, or in his case, it should have been a trust. His wealth, and he had a considerable amount of wealth, did not pass smoothly to his chosen heir. It happened to be his niece's son, who was just the apple of his eye. And that man's estate was subjected to over 5 years of interfamily litigation. And I'm here to tell you, it was ugly. It was ugly and it was sad, right? My point to him then, and I couldn't convince him, was go ahead and put something in place. Tell those you love what your intent is. You can always change it. And I promise you, compared to what he left behind and compared to the amount of money it cost in that battle and the emotional scars which will never heal in that family, it was a pittance that would have done that. So while living longer, we're not immortal. In fact, each of us is mortal. If we can accept that simple fact, just accept that simple fact, it only makes sense to consult with an attorney trained in assisting families with smooth transitions. It's entirely unfair that the sandwiched individual, that's the adult parent, adult child of aging or dying parents who also has their own minor or just barely not minor children. It's really not fair that sandwiched individual has to then deal with the affairs of their parents after they die, especially after the second one dies. We see far too many cases where this is exactly what happens, and the legacy of the parents damaged forever. It's really sad because every time somebody thinks about that parent, they think about that mess that was left behind and the bad feelings that came out of it. So this month, we're going to explore us, the sandwich generation. And we're going to do it in little bite-sized chunks, right? So today, we're encouraging parents of the newest generation of minor children, or even young adult children, not to do what their own parents have done to them. The problem is in denying mortality, right? In doing this planning, we have to admit that we're like everybody else and life has an end. Once we accept that, we think, wow, what can we do to leave things best for those that we're leaving behind, right? So what is that? What is that? Taking a look at what plan your parents have, if you're still able to do so. If you've already been through that, them leaving a mess behind, if you've already been through them leaving a mess behind, don't do that to your kids, right? Let's get that plan in place. Let's get that plan in place. It's the thing to do. So I'm going on vacation. Yay! And if you're watching this at the video library at rocksolidlaw/videos, I've probably been on vacation, unless you watch it really soon. And so therefore, we are going to skip next week. And the next part of this series on June 17th at 9 a.m. will be Aging Parents, the Sandwich Generation. What adult children need to do for their aging parents and how it will make your life better, the life of the adult child, the one who's in the sandwich generation. So I see Brenda's joined us since I started. So good morning and welcome. So glad you're here. If there are any questions, they can be put in the chat screen. Right now, I'm not seeing any. I can't believe I was that much of a model of clarity this morning. But if there are any questions that you don't want to share with the group, please email us at questions@rocksolidlaw.com. And if you will email us at questions@rocksolidlaw.com and put in the Ray line, Estate Planning Survival Guide, we'll be happy to provide you with our free pamphlet that outlines, and what I try to do is demystify a little bit of of the estate planning process. So if, oh, great, Brenda, that's good news. Shoot us an email. Perfect. If we're already going forward with one person on the line, but if anybody else is ready to move forward, we'll be happy to sit down with you and discuss your goals for the future of your family and see how that might fit in. That's all of my presentation this morning. And we are very much hoping to have a wonderful day and hoping that I will see you and bring some friends back here at 9 a.m. on June 17th to talk about exactly what the sandwich generation can do to help their parents while they still can.